Hey everyone, welcome to another Decisions Lunch and Learn. I'm going to be your host for today, Gregory Goldston, and let's go over the stuff on the right. As always, we have our Decisions Support YouTube channel. Highly recommend checking that out. We do upload content there pretty regularly. You can take a look at the different processes that occur in decisions, learn how to build something out specifically, or perhaps review previous lunch and learns. We got all that listed there. Below that, we have the Decisions Solutions Marketplace. This is a great way to explore some other builds that have been created, try them out in your environment, take what you like from it, leave what you don't, or build something better off of it. But they are free to use and download from there. And then, of course, we have integrated AI DocBot into all Decisions versions going from V7 up to V now. So you can access this from anywhere in their support chat, and I can point that out once we get over to my environment. Fantastic way to just ask different flow building questions. It sources from our documentation site, so you can find the same info there. All right, so I'm going to switch over to my decisions screen, and then we are going to get started. So pardon me for just a moment while I do that. And here we go. All right, cool, cool, cool. You should all be able to see a form that I'm inside of right now. And the reason we're inside of this form is because we had a pre-submitted question from Marvin that is asking about dynamically setting radio buttons based upon certain events that occur. So, Marvin, I'm going to allow you to talk because I think I understood what your question was, but it would be nice to have a little bit more clarity. So you should be good now.
Yep.
And if I recall, the question was, we want to find a way to dynamically select certain radio buttons in a list based upon some other criteria that's going on inside of the form. But the problem is that when you're selecting or deselecting multiple, you can't seem to find the selected item input in the data. That's correct?
Well, the caveat is I'm having to use multiple independent radio lists where the radio button list only has one entry for each of the radio button lists. And that's just because of the design layout, unfortunately.
So when you say each has one entry, let's
In
go
other words,
into,
if I have two radio button lists on the page,
okay.
and each one has a single entry.
Each one has a single entry. Okay. Okay, I gotcha.
And what I'm doing is both lists, I give them a common prefix. In other words, you can call it whatever you want. Lunch option one, and the other one lunch option two. So they both would be prefaced with lunch.
Okay, sounds good. So let's see. Lunch, I'm gonna call this one lunch. I'll call this even, and the other one odd, just to match our
Sure.
naming criteria up here. So this is gonna be lunch even, and this will be lunch odd. Okay.
Mhm.
And then this is being sourced
And
from,
it's a static list.
it's a static list.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
Gotcha.
mean, yeah, and one would say even and the other one would say odd, but I was using string. So how do you want to do that?
I can drag this over, don't worry about it. Oh, I wonder if that is the reason why actually is because it's static. That might be the reason.
Okay.
So just to make sure, so we have this set up here. You have an active form flow that tries to go in and you can't see the data after that.
Right. If you use a standard get control value, you can see it. But if
Okay.
you add the radio button list to an array, you lose the selected item property. That's what I was
That
attempting to
makes
do.
okay, that makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's do a get control value, see what we're seeing, and then let's go from there. So select our flow data, right?
Mhm.
Form data, and then we'll select the radio button. I called this one even, I think. So, and you get this selected item where you can
Right,
get that. But when you start adding these to a list is when
right.
the problem occurs.
Yes.
I have two questions. Are these outputs called something different?
Um, Let me get back to that. I was in the middle of something else.
If they aren't, they'd override the data.
If they, yes, selected item is unique to the radio button list.
Okay. And if
In
I
other
fetch it,
words, back on the radio button list, if you go back to the form just a second,
yes, absolutely.
just to make sure we're on the same page. All right, that says even, and the other one says, well, doesn't say the same thing, but it is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
That output is not the same as the selected item you get in your flow. It's this, well, let me specify. It's the same thing, but they're being called different things. So when you go inside of your flow and you fetch a selected item, this step itself is calling it something. It's just calling it selected item. If
Right.
I were to do the same thing again here, right? And I selected the odd one.
Mhm.
Oh wait, that was the button. My bad. Hold on. I think it's this one. Okay. You see how this is also called selected item, right?
Mhm.
If I go into a create data step, the only thing I'm going to see is that one selected item because that is the only there's only one instance of that variable as far as decisions is concerned. It only sees that
Sure.
particular one because they're called the same thing. So if I call this selected item 2, selected item 1, now I'll see both.
I'm not sure. I'm not on the same page yet. Let's. All right, you've got the two controls. All right, go to the create data step again
Absolutely.
and add both of the flow controls to an array. I
Sounds good.
created it, and you can call it whatever you want to, just for simplicity here.
I gotcha. And let's do, not flow data. We're going to build array. We're going to add two of these actually.
Mm-hmm.
Select item 1, select item 2.
All right, I tried this. Well, see, that was my second attempt. I originally tried to add the form control itself. But let's follow this avenue just a second.
Yep. So I did get form control twice and changed the output names so they didn't overwrite
Right.
each other.
Okay. See, I'm not using get control values at all there, period.
Okay, so you're grabbing it directly from
Yes,
form data, radio button, each of these, and then you're getting a different selected item for
exactly.
them, right? Okay,
Exactly.
that's cool. That's cool. Not a problem.
But I see what you were doing. I caught up with what you were doing.
Okay. So these should still both do the same thing.
All right. And you said selected item.
Actually, I think I
I
grabbed the
think
wrong one. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
I've still got that code. All right, I can find out. The deal is, okay, you've got the selected item,
Mm-hmm.
and you can interrogate the item, determine which one was selected, which string was passed, so that you know which, but you can't go back. All right, the two lists in and of themselves are completely independent.
Correct.
But what I want to do is if you click one from one list, I want to turn the other one in the other list off.
Okay.
The problem is you don't have a reference back to that, to the other, whichever one you select. You don't have access to that selected item to know it,
I
of the one
see.
you want to turn off. In other words, you figure out the one that's on, you want to turn the other one off.
Okay. Um, that doesn't seem like it'd be too hard to do. I'm going to drop both of these get controls because these are redundant at this point. So we have each individual item and the selected item, and your goal is that you want to check that if one is selected. So over here, there's the value, not just selected item. There's
Right.
the, yeah, there's the selected
And it
item.
appeared to me this is not being passed by reference. It's actually just creating a whole new value in the array, which is why you don't have access to the radio button to actually turn it off.
Hmm. Yeah, that's, yeah, you would have to.
I mean, I know how I could do this in JavaScript, but I've never done JavaScript in Decision, so
No, 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 you're good, you're good.
you know what I mean?
Yep. So we want to check if a particular one is null, which would just be a run rule here.
Yeah, it just makes something simple here.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have an existing one in this project. So if it exists, right? That's what we want to check. Was something selected, right?
Right.
Does exist, something along those lines. So let's get that from flow data, and then we have our selected. Let's get our first one for this. So if our
Sure.
first item in here exists, then we want to turn the other one off, right? And
Yes.
the other way that I could think to do that, let's see if this works or not. I'm going to use a create data. We're going to set this as a string, um, blank. So I'm going to call it. And then we're going to save that. And instead of it being a constant, I'm going to set it to null. And instead of
Right.
rename, I'm going to do change value. Let's pick our form data. Let's pick our odd, but I don't remember which one was which, so we'll figure that out here very, very soon. I see. So, oh, wait, these are the buttons. My bad, my bad, my bad. Okay, so selected item. And if it's false, we're not going to do anything. Let's do a quick test to make sure I got my items mapped correctly here. And we want to run this on click. And actually, no, no, no.
Yes.
We want to do it when the selection is changed, right? That's what we want to do.
Yes. On
Yeah.
both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see if this works real quick. I might have gotten the mapping wrong, so we'll find out very soon.
And the way you got it set up, it'll only work in one direction, but that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't remember which way was.
Oh, look, it's turning itself off. I got the wrong one.
Hey, but in a way, it's working.
It is working. It's absolutely working. So let's go in and let's fix that real quick. That won't take long. Okay. Yeah, it's only working in one way with this. You may want to set up different active form flows that run
That's
on
what I was
different ones.
trying not to do. I mean,
Oh, I see. Well,
well, I've got it working such that I use a I use the trigger component name, and I do a, what is it, string match, determine which one was clicked,
Mm, gotcha.
and then I manually turn off all the others. But I was hoping to find a slicker way to do that without having to, manually build all the ones you have to turn off depending on the scenario.
Right. I have an idea that's brewing on that. We'll
I
try
mean,
something here. So,
and that first image that I sent, that's that scenario working.
mm, okay, okay.
And then the second one was me trying to do the slicker version.
All right, so if I click odd, so I have even, nah, dang it. So I click odd, I click even, it's turning off itself. Wow. Oh man. Oh well, we'll figure this out. But I have an idea that's brewing involving this, and we will see if this works. So the idea is we want to set all of the other options to null. That's what we want to do when
Right.
this occurs. I wonder. You know what I'm gonna do first? Let's hold on. Let's stop making this hard on ourselves. This is gonna be called radio button even. This is gonna be called radio button odd. We're gonna make this
Yes,
easier for ourselves
and
to
I
deal
didn't
with.
notice that, but yes, the names are, I try to keep the names so that they
Yeah,
resemble the value that they were using as well.
I see. I have an idea here. So we want to check whether the newly updated item, the selected item, gets changed. And we're trying to do it without creating multiple active form flows.
Well,
And in order
this
to,
is all being done in one form, active form flow. I
right.
was trying to keep from having to code all of the set control values for every scenario.
Yes, and I'm thinking about a way to do that as well. I wonder if we so if that gets output, then the other ones get. We're gonna try something. We're gonna try something here real quick, and then we'll get to other questions.
I was going
So
to
let's
say, I don't
see.
want to take up the whole time, but
May come back to this. So let's say
and
that we have a particular input, and that input is going to be the selected item. Okay, and if it contains a list, so the selected item gets triggered. So let's see. The selected item is going to be a list of all the selected items that we pass in. And
mhm.
we want to check if one of them, this contains, let's see. Hmm, that may not work. The idea that I had was passing in whatever the newest selected item is, finding a way to get however that is, and then pass it in, and then on our outputs, where is it? Allow actions, change value, not of the selected item, but of the other form control that will pass in here, which will be the this will be actually the list of items that we want to do. Selected item, and then this will be selected item list. And let's save this real quick. Hold on, let's rearrange this. So this is selected item, done. And then pick the data. We want to change the selected item list, which is going to be a list of strings, to null. And then if that would get passed out. So this does all the nullification right here dynamically based upon whichever selection was created. This may not work. It's just kind of an idea that's brewing. So you just basically run it
Yeah,
through.
I sort of see where you're headed, but yeah, I'm not sure that's gonna,
I'm not certain
because
either.
that's just gonna nullify your list that you.
Well, you would pass in everything but the newest selected item into that input. So everything else would get,
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm using one active form flow. I don't know which one of those triggered it. So then I'd have to interrogate, okay, which one selected it? Then I'd have to somehow dynamically build the list without that one in it. And,
yeah,
it's recursively getting,
yeah, I see
uh,
what you're saying. So let me just check what we have in the flow data. We have the trigger component name. So that's what triggers it. Oh, yeah. We do have whatever triggers it, the name of that
right,
component. I'll
right.
look into this. Now that I know what you're asking, I'll see if I can work out a build for this that would capture it all in one active form flow. Because, yeah, doing it in multiple would not be hard, but doing it all in one gets a little interesting.
Can we go back to the one thing where you did the set? I want to see how you were turning it back off because
Oh, by the way, you know that
I guess on the create data where you turned it off, that's
right
what I
here.
want to.
So I set the selected value to null. That's all I
Right.
did.
But can you make that a little wider so I can see the whole thing?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, all right. So there you're specifying a specific form control.
Correct. Yeah, you're gonna have to specify. There's not a way to dynamically assign it to a form control currently.
All right, there's my answer.
Yeah,
I
you'll
think
have
bottom
to.
line, I think that's the answer. Not currently.
Yeah. Yeah, that it is unfortunate, but the only other way that I could think to change that, that's why I was going the truth table route, because you could
Right.
cover every possibility with a simpler way. But yeah, it's still not dynamically settable.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, the only other way I could think to do that is if you passed in not a string, but the form control type.
Well, that's what did originally. But when I pass in well, the form control itself, you don't have that select the item property for that form control when you go through the
Form data, form control data, form control
for
data.
each.
Oh, I see. And look, that it's going to vary based upon whichever one you selected, even though
I mean,
they're technically listed as the same type. So I see. Let's do one quick search on grab that in, and this will be type form control. Oh, it doesn't form. I'm sorry, it's cap.
it's all one word. Is this on a, is this in an active form flow? Because that should work. Because
That
that's
should
exactly
definitely
what I
work.
did.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Form.
I only set the list.
It's in here somewhere. Form control validation issue.
That's weird.
I know, right? This should just be.
And you are in a active form flow, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in one right now. That's weird. So let's do control and see what happens. Form control validation. Weird. Yeah. I don't know why it's not showing up. That's very strange. Hmm. Okay. Well, I will look into that. I will see if there's a way to maybe mess with that, but to my knowledge, there is not a way to do it dynamically.
Okay.
Yeah. I will message you back.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Sure thing. All right, Emmanuel, you have the next question. How can I access the decisions tool to follow along in the version 9 training? Here, let me unmute you because that is actually here. Um, that is quite a simple answer. So let me make sure that I understand your question. You've been signed up for product training, correct?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Cool, cool.
So I'm doing the follow along, the
hmm
self-paced training, and you watch the videos, but I wanted to see if I could access the version 9 tool so I could follow along with doing like the projects and everything.
Oh, absolutely. So what's going to happen is once you get far enough along, there's actually going to be a lesson that just has you ask for an instance and we'll fill it out at that moment so you can do all the exercises.
Okay.
So yeah, it's going to be in the training itself. Let me see if I can find the particular. Let me log in real quick. Give me just a moment to get to that and make this a little bit easier to see rather than just me telling y'all. So where did we go? Decisions product 9. There we go. All right. Found that. Um, product training.
Hey, this is Robert. It's an introduction to workflow.
Okay, introduction to workflow.
Yeah, Greg, you might be able to pull it up and share it and show them.
That's what I'm trying to do. Introduction to workflow. Why am I not seeing it? What is going on here? Hold on, I'm still looking. Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong product training version. I didn't even know there was in our version 9 product training, but apparently I was in that. Let's see here. I'm just gonna go to it real quick. This will give me like 2 minutes. But yeah, so introduction to workflow, as Rob was saying, there is going to be a particular section where you make a request for such an instance. I'm just trying to demonstrate what that looks like.
Okay, that's the next one. Introduction to workflow.
Oh, it's the very next one for you.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. As soon as you hit that, it's gonna have you fill it out with I mean even I think your email or some it's something very simple. Then we get that request, we make it, and you'll get an email back with all of the access details to that environment.
Okay.
Greg, I can share my screen and show it off real fast.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, if you've got it, I'm gonna stop sharing.
I appreciate this.
Yeah, sure. Apologies on my ugly header with all of my bookmarks. So warning you right now. I know yellow's ugly, but I do that so I know to hide it. Yeah, so in introduction to workflow, right down here, like the fifth option, you'll request it right there. It'll take like 15 to 20 minutes because we have it automated and has to like host your server, make you a URL, all that stuff, but it's right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Stop my share.
Ready? Did you have any further questions on that, Emmanuel?
That's it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Alrighty then. Uh, Joe Chaco, I'm gonna let you talk real quick. Let's go over your question and I'll start sharing my screen once again. Okay, so the question is there a way that when you have a simple form with one field and a submit button that you can have a pop-up form appearing after hitting submit that captures some text and then writes that text to a separate table? Let me get a quick clarification from you. When you say simple form, are you talking about the simple form
No,
control?
I meant simple meaning there's only one field on it.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. All right, just want to make sure we have our terminology.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let me exit out of this. Let's make a new flow real quick, and we'll call this simple flow, and we will use a show form step. So you're trying to have a pop-up occur after the submit button that would take place after the user submits it as kind of like a notification that gets out inputs or outputs
Um,
from that?
I think that, let's say there's one field on the form,
Okay.
and that field, when you hit submit, gets written to table one, we'll call it, and then the pop-up that appears, just a text box that accepts texts. And when you enter the text and you hit OK on this pop-up box, that text would get written into table two.
Okay. What you're looking for is an end form then, not a pop-up button. Because an end form here, nope, wrong one. Wrong one. And not an end form session. I need to edit this one, give it an outcome.
Gotcha. Yep.
There we go. And then this will be field one, right? So that's going to be the output of that. And then you want to be able to, I'm going to create a new one. All right. So this will be simple end form. Hello? Oh, here we go. All right. And then you want to be able to capture information here from another user input, right?
Right.
Okay. It's not going to be an end form then. I think the only other way that we would do this, I see Jeremy is raising his hand. He might have some insight into the. There are multiple ways to do what you're trying to do, is what we should say. But let me unmute Jeremy McNeil real quick so we can talk about that. But I think the idea here is that you'll probably need just another mini form like afterward instead of an end form then if you're trying to input it. So
That's what I did.
did it not work?
I couldn't get it to work. No.
Oh, really?
Which part could you not get to work? Because you'd have to have a create data or a selective update step for each of your different tables after each form that you're trying to write to.
So the first form is the one with the one text box on it. The second form is just a form that captures information. Is that correct so far?
It can be, yeah. So captures information. What do you mean by captures information?
A text box that says, I changed the date from one date to another. Just some text that you're capturing from the user. So as they submit the first form, a
Okay.
pop-up box it's almost like an input box in programming, right? So it pops up, it asks you a question, you type in some answer, and then it goes on from there. But obviously would write it to a separate table, let's say table number 2. So first form opens up, it has one field, you fill it out, you hit submit, and normally that would write to a table. We'll call it table 1.
Okay.
And then in this case, the exact same thing. You open up the form, you fill it out, one field, you hit submit, and an additional form pops up with a separate text box that says, what do you want? And you type something in there. And then when you're done with that form, you press OK. And so the original form writes to table 1, and the pop-up form writes to table 2.
Okay. And it doesn't work when you just have another form after the first one?
Well, I tried to put an event button, but that didn't work. I was trying to figure out how to. So if I could just see it, I would.
Yeah, hold on. Let me also make this smaller so it's a little bit more like a pop-up real quick. So we'll make this 400 and we'll make this 300. And then delete. There we go. So you're filling out this form with
Yeah,
something. It writes
right,
it. All right, and there'll be a step between that writes it. It has an outcome, and then you have something here, right?
right. Pops up another form, and
Okay.
then writes it to another table. The first one's done already though. Like you don't,
Right.
the first form has already been written, right, to the database?
Yeah. Yeah. So we would what we would do is we would just um put some sort of save or something for your database type between these forms, right? That would happen basically instantly. And so the next
Oh,
form
really? So
pops
it's
up.
just two forms next to each other that once one ends, it's waiting and you will never see the second form until the first form's satisfied, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's
Oh yeah,
just
actually that
yeah, and then you just have again, I don't have any user defined types in this project, but you just have a database structure that would, write to that
right.
database and
Yep,
then
yep.
yeah, you can do whole chains of forms even if need be, depending on your process. You can make it look like it's updating dynamically too with the form control where's it progress bar? What's it called? Um yeah. Can I set this to yeah, so let's say the max on this is 2. All right, so something very simple. You have a progress bar that's across the top here, has 0, has 2, and then you save that. You don't have to do this, obviously. I just want to show you the idea behind this. So we would set this progress bar to, actually, let's set it to 0, right? And then this other one, let's go in here. There are other ways to display this. There's like a line graph as well that does the exact same thing.
Timeline.
Timeline. Thank you very much. That's the name of it. And then save that, exit, set is constant to 1. And now what happens when you run this is you input it, right? So there's no progress done right here. And then as soon as you go to the next one, it looks like it's updating the progress, right? You can keep doing that with your chains of forms.
Okay. Let me try stringing those two together because I didn't even think of that. I was trying to figure another way for it to work, but I think one form behind the other really is what I'm looking for because once one form is satisfied, the other one appears.
Right, and it forces the user to stop at each individual form so the process
Yes,
can't keep going on.
right. Okay, that's good enough for me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty, let me check the Q&A real quick. Make sure we don't have anything. Marvin, you have another question. Let's see. Is there an add step that can add an int 32 and not decimal? Um,
Default add uses decimal as the type,
right.
and I've got a create data step that creates an integer,
Mm-hmm.
and all I'm doing is adding 1 to the count.
Okay.
And I was just curious if there was a option somehow to keep it all int 32, or
Um,
I don't
that
think
depends
so,
on why
but
you need it, the integer. So your add
well, I don't
here,
need the decimal is really the issue. Because I'm just adding, I'm just counting, I'm counting those radio buttons.
right,
No, there'll never be 1.2 and 2.4 or whatever. It's just,
right.
that's
Let's
it's just curious.
let me let me check. There might, I wonder if you can run a converter flow on that if need be. I don't see why that would like
I mean, the decimal works, but
that's what I was gonna
the
say.
ultimate, it, the end result is decimal, but I'm not sure what that's going to do to my evaluation at the end. I don't
It
know.
should it
Maybe
shouldn't break anything. Your evaluation for that, yeah, decimal shouldn't break anything if you don't have any trailing digits after that. But let's just make sure. So I can set this output to an integer of type 32, right? And then all I would do is I would pass in this decimal value. That didn't work. Where's our, oh, we have to separate input, duh. Um,
if I create a field there that's of type int, and then you go use the add step, when you change the output, you can't use the same name because they're of different type. Because it was originally defined as int32, and the add uses decimal.
Yeah, you can't define this output unless it's I'm gonna see if running a converter flow work. For some reason it doesn't like this converter
I
flow.
didn't,
Hold
I
on.
didn't, I didn't even think about that.
And then pick existing.
Decimal.
Oh, weird. It's not letting me hello? Where's my input? Is it the extension? How do I let's figure this out real quick. Data Explorer, decimal. I created that one. Flow data. Nope. Extension data. Category. Should I say what? Okay. No. No. Wait, cache type. Value. I don't know. Let's play around with this a little bit, shall we? Cache
Just
type
a
value.
curiosity question. If there are other questions, this
Yeah.
can.
I can't see a reason that it would break it, is what I'm trying to say. If you're passing out a decimal in your addition process, right? Because you're trying to, I guess, create a tally, right?
Mm-hmm.
That should not create any sort of issue having that passed out as a decimal when you're adding integers to it. That should not be a problem.
I might look at that conversion thing and play with that just for whatever that's worth, you know?
Yeah, conversions are very interesting. Typically I see them on inputs more, but you can technically run them on outputs. But typically it's inputs that you're looking. So let me go into see if we can run that on the input real quick because I don't see any more questions queued. So let's go to our simple flow. So this is going to output a decimal. Let's edit this actually. I do not want a converter flow anymore. Let's just do rename. This will be our output and we're going to pass that into create data step. Let's see if this functions properly. And we want to create a data of integer.
So I was initializing the counter first and then doing the add conditionally.
This is not the initializer. This is for something else. This is the
Oh,
converter.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But you're correct. That's how you would do that. Yeah, you definitely initialize it first. That is exactly how you handle that. What I'm
Okay.
trying to do,
Just convert after the fact. Okay.
decimal to integer, pass in your decimal from your flow data of output. Now your output's an integer here.
Whoa, whoa. I didn't quite follow.
Yeah, my bad. So there is a
Okay, converter on the
input, and this decimal to int is the converter I created. You won't see this by default. This is the one that I made.
you made that.
Yep. And the
Okay.
way that it works, it's probably hidden in here. I'm going to save this and exit real quick. And it was very simple. All I did, hold on, I need to show hidden items, otherwise this isn't going to come up. Where's my converter? Decimal. Oh, wait, it's not hidden. Never mind. It's right here. Decimal to int. All I did was I created an input for the decimal.
And this is a flow.
That's correct. This is a converter flow.
Okay, just a converter flow. All right.
That's right. I created an input for decimal. I set my output to be an integer, and then I just passed it in.
I'm taking a couple screenshots just to.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
All right. The input is decimal. And then the output, you've got a field defined as int32. Okay.
That's right. And then all I did was I passed in my pre-configured input to my output. I'm going to exit out of this flow real quick.
Okay.
And then after this is made, I'm going to go back to my list view here. After that list is made, on the input, I ran a converter flow on a create data step for an integer. And I said, hey, I want my output, like what I'm putting into this integer is actually going to be my decimal output converted through my flow.
How does it know to add that flow to the converter list?
Once it's created, it checks for possible inputs that would function for it. So if I go
Okay,
to converters here, that's typically what works here. But
okay.
if I go to converter instead of converters,
Hmm.
I should be able to actually let me clear this. Hold on, let me clear this.
Sure.
If I go to converter instead, I can add one and pick an existing converter. So if it doesn't show up in that list, just do it that way.
Just do it that way. Okay.
Yep. And then I pick my decimal flow data, which is my output here.
Right.
That should pass out as an integer. And let's confirm that this functions in the debugger. Hopefully it doesn't hate me, and it does not.
Okay.
Now, this will obviously fail if your decimal is actually has something passed in
It's
the
not an
tens,
integer.
hundreds.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay.
But yeah, you can make custom converter flows for any sort of thing that you need. I ran a converter flow in a project that I was working on. I can
Mhm.
actually hop over to that real quick. It's a little bit more of a complicated converter flow. Oh, wrong one, wrong one, wrong one. And I think it was, is it in here? Yeah, my converter. I had to run a, never mind. This was a default one, convert string to decimals. I thought I had ran a distinct converter in this that got distinct entries, but no, that was actually a subflow. But yeah, here I have a convert string to decimal so that I can actually use it in my rule to compare with my changes here because I need to do some like less than greater than comparison, so I couldn't work with a string.
Right. So there's no convert string to decimal.
There
Wow.
there is, right, there may not be depending on your input. I've used, this is a default convert string to decimal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I used here. I did not create a custom one for this, is what I was trying to say.
All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll lunch and learn anything. Appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. They can come in handy. There was a converter that got a distinct list of strings. I think it still exists in our product. So you could pass in a list that had multiple duplicate entries and it would only pass out a string list that had one of each entry.
There's
Mhm.
a step in the flow toolbox that does that.
Right, they get distinct list or something like that, right? Or something along those lines.
Something like that.
LNL Wednesday. Yeah, here we go. All right. Yeah, there should be a get distinct. Yeah, get distinct list of strings. You got a step. You run it through, passes out just those which are unique.
I
Let me
found
see
that
if we
step
still
very
have that.
useful in many situations.
Oh yeah. The only reason I didn't use that for mine in that other one is because I needed the whole project, like that whole data type that I create, I need a distinct list of those. They can have the same name, but there are certain properties that could be different. So that's the only reason that was not done. Let's see if it still runs as a converter. Convert. If I pass in a list of strings as a converter, is this still one of the options? Get unique strings from lists. Yes, it is still one of the default converters. Cool, cool.
Mhm.
All right. I don't see any further questions at the moment. Anyone got anything else? Because if not, then I think we'll probably call it a session. Okay. Sounds good. I don't see any more Q&As. Nope. All right. Thank you all for coming to Lunch and Learn. Appreciate y'all attending.